There are 5 critical levels to this system, and most people are stuck around level 3. I'll break down the problem and how to fix it like a pro. If you're a level 1 player, you spam that parry button so hard that you get distracted by the big old shield or spear that you just flopped out there, wiggling around everywhere. Now, why is this an issue, other than the fact that it's illegal in most countries, and how does the new Dark Ages Revelation spear tie in when you realize that it has a different timing? I'll get to that in a sec. Now, even though you are stopping a bunch of enemy attacks by sheer brute force, like 1,000 parries and you block 900, you're also stopping your own attacks as a level 1. Now, how does that make sense? Because ParrySlop spam takes away from optimal other actions, so you're laser focusing in on that alone, and it's ingraining some terrible habits, ones that rely on brute force with the shield and the spear until you get it right, as opposed to actual mechanical execution that you can build off for future skill sets. This leaves your success up to chance and not skill. Now, if you're blocking all the time, you are not DPSing in better ways, or damage per second. Even as a beginner, or just maybe someone just not concerned with optimization, you're still missing out. That is damage that you're missing on the enemies, and you're letting them shoot you if you're just showing off your BFC, your big freaking circle, spear, or whatever you want to call it. This leads to enemies staying alive longer with lengthier fights. The longer the fight goes on, the longer a fight goes on, the more chances you have to mess up. So, should you just try to end it too quickly and be sloppy? See, it's a balancing act. But there's also a catch. Doom is about calculated aggression and understanding not just what to do, but why you do it, even if you didn't create the method you're doing. So once you learn to time those parries and do them with intention and success, you've evolved like a Pokemon right up to level 2. However, a lot of people struggle with the new spear and its timing. What's the secret that they're missing? Level 2 is the beginner parry. Call the beginner parry player a pop band, because they parry from One Direction. A beginner gets those basic concepts down beyond just the spam, and they can execute them decently competently. They haven't gotten into the more advanced spatial awareness, omnidirectional stuff, which we will get to, and it is absolutely worth your time to hear. At this point, you may not be aware of perfect parries, where you just get it right on point. Maybe the wider parry window will also allow for more grace. Being careful not to get used to a wider window if it means you lose technique and rely on having more margin of error or room to make mistakes. The beginner has issues with the different timing of the spear parry and how to mix that in with the shield that they've started to learn, since you have to switch back and forth and the different timings can throw you off. Though the beginner does know how to parry, they're definitely a one-trick pony, only doing the basic move even in times when something else would be a better fit, or they just fail to adapt to the situation. Things get more complicated here too. Remember, as I mentioned, the spear has a different timing on its slash to parry, and this is intentional design, and it all begins to unravel as we dive deeper. Think of it this way. The beginner has a flashlight. They're slowly meandering, wandering about through a tunnel, they're bumping their knees on rocks along the way, they're not knowing what's hitting them, but dang it if they're not trying, and they are getting there. But what's that huge key element that the beginner is missing that separates them from an intermediate? And yet, if they miss, they lead to a huge risk or ultimately death. The Level 3 Intermediate. These become and feel more like a tool in their toolkit with their parries, as opposed to some standalone action that you've been trained to do when you see the enemy flash a green light. It feels more natural and, importantly, intentional. They begin to incorporate the parrying into combos, weaving in and out with its ability. They begin to understand how the parry truly works and its use cases in different timings. When fighting bosses, they or you learn the pattern and begin to piece together the motions needed while also keeping damage up, something the beginner did not do. They begin to incorporate parrying into their movement, can react on the fly, and know when to use the shield or the spear and adjust their timings for it. Not only that, but smart usage of the other mechanics of each tool, such as a throw, a slam, or a stab. It's at this stage you begin to use other smaller enemy parries like Imp Stalkers in order to trigger your shield runes like the Holy Swarm daggers to hit larger targets tactically and intentionally. You may also use the switch from the shield to the spear, knowing that it creates a faltering blast around you, but only every 10 seconds. Understanding the timing behind that and when to use it when you're already switching in the first place begins to formulate at this stage and really take root. You really begin to learn the intricacies and the extra tech that people find behind the parry at this stage. But where do they lack, and why is it so critical? See, the intermediate understands what to do, but they can still get one-track mind. They get into routines, doing what they've learned, even if they don't fully understand why they do it sometimes, even if it's not the most optimal approach to take. They do it because it's what they've learned and practiced as a beginner, so they just form those habits, which again, going back earlier when I said you don't want to make those habits bad or they will carry forward with you and be even tougher to break by the time you get used to them. The intermediate has taken one thing at a time and expanded upon that one thing, which is an amazing way to learn. I've always championed it for years, especially as the spear has a lot of depth. You're adding on these stepping stones, mastering them one at a time. However, remember, there's that catch. If you need an alternate method, you aren't quite there yet in deciphering what it is that you do need, and you don't have many options available in your toolkit. You're comfortable with the tried and true method, especially in expanding upon it, and unfortunately, this is where more growth is held back. Just not knowing how to change what you're used to doing, and you've developed that muscle memory for all these hours. The expert, though? The expert has a strength that we haven't quite seen yet, a type of knowledge, yet also a crucial weakness. Strangely enough, a weakness that the beginner and intermediate don't really have, which sounds really weird, right? I'll explain how this expert fails in just a second, as we go to level 4, expert. The expert realizes the mechanics. They have multiple routes to take with the parry, and they understand how it truly works. They can execute perfect parries, turn around, see a projectile, chain parries, even parrying from behind based on audio cues, spatial awareness, and game knowledge on projectiles and their timing. And it all comes instinctually over time. Not that an intermediate can't, but there's a natural flow state about the expert, one that goes deeper than the surface. I'll let you in on the little secret what I mean by that. Like I've hinted at before, they understand parries and blocks are omnidirectional with that shield working 360 degrees. Think about if you played Dark Ages, you got your shield and you parry it up, and wait, you just parried something that was behind you. So you can parry something that you're not even looking at in the game. The expert listens to sound cues. They don't all blend together on the battle in front of them, and they excel not only at encounters, or fights, that they've already memorized over hundreds of thousands of hours, but are completely able to competently tackle new scenarios and even the randomizers. Watch an expert play a randomizer and you'll see how they can react in addition to knowing what to do in those instincts. Now, since we don't have eyes in the back of our head, we need ears. And our ears are literally on each side of our head, and they aren't meant to just pick up sound directly in front of us. Their weakness of the expert? Well, it's complacency. They get so good they fall into a routine. Maybe even get cocky about how well they're playing, and then they just die. The experience and the grind is there, it's ingrained in them, to continually attack a section that's giving them an issue, even to the point of getting tilted. Grinding for the win, even if they're tired of it, which we can all fall victim to that. Experts begin to realize just how much they truly don't know about the game. Now, this is super interesting to me, honestly. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and here's what I mean. Doom is a game with a low skill floor, meaning anyone can get in and have fun, but a high skill ceiling that truly rewards you for mastering the game's mechanics over hundreds and thousands of hours. A beginner often overestimates what they know, dying from inexperience. An intermediate realizes that they're decently competent and they begin to get cocky, dying from arrogance. And an expert knows just how little they truly actually know about the game in its depth, dying to complacency and to some insanely challenging fights. Time and field experience separate the expert. They've learned how to apply these battle tactics to parrying, not just in mechanics, but in the mental game too, with prediction, situational awareness, or what's next. They're not quite the canon slayer, so where's left to go from here in our final level? The true slayer understands how to use the spear, its hooks and its slashes, and when on the right timing. They not only know, but have mastered each individual power. The hook, the slash, throw, stab, and slam. When and how to incorporate each, and they manage the empowerment resource all at the same time. All while fully understanding that the shield, charging a spear from it when maxed, keeping a mental idea of how their spear charges are looking, and being able to switch back and forth between on a perfect level. The shield breaks, they go to the spear, and they're ready to go back to the shield, understanding that timing instinctually. Or they even can just rely on the spear by itself. Less traditional defense and more damage and offense. The faster the enemy dies, the quicker you win and the fewer mistakes you make, remember? Their game sense is so cracked, that they go almost on autopilot in a lot of cases, yet they have the ice in their veins and the grit for the tough situations. And interestingly enough, some people become so experienced that they're able to utilize just the spear itself, disregarding the shield, which is intended to be swapped in and out at the highest level play, and that takes its own skill set to do. So, that begs the question, are experts that use the spear 99% of the time missing out, or carving their own path forward still yet? I broke down Doom Eternal in the same way as this video. Click here so you don't miss out.